Hey gang, what's going on? This topic is very close to my heart. You've probably seen I've been on this codependency journey for nearly a year now. And it's so painful when you start admitting these things, but step one, admit that your life's unmanageable, 12 steps. So, one of the things that's really become common these days is the Narc-Labelling thing. And one of the groups I'm in, the woman that runs it, Brianna Williams, who's rad. I think it's McWilliam. Anyway, she just posted a thing saying that it's unprocessed emotion that narc labels. And let's face it, like, labeling is like dismissing, and it's like the very thing that person's protesting against is acted out in that moment. So when we call someone a bigot, we're saying, oh, they're racist or they're sexist, i.e., they label and don't care and don't understand. And it's like, by labeling them, you are refusing to understand and not caring about them, right? And I'm not saying neo-Nazis deserve love too, but deep down, everyone deserves love. And if they're afraid of other races or whatever, then what is that? It's fear. How do we treat the fear? Of course, they got to go to therapy and go, I'm afraid of races or genders or whatever, of homophobia or whatever. And you could get that processed out of you. You could work through that, but you have to want to. Anyway, it's the same with attachment injury. Like, being aware of it is the beginning of being able to work on it. And therapy or going to the groups or reading and meditating and stuff, these are all ways to process that stuff and then to develop a new level of freedom. Anyway, Narc-Labelling. So what I was getting at was, when someone gives someone advice and goes, oh, that person's a narcissist, you need to get out right now, that's cool, and it feels good to say that, and it feels good to hear it as well. But if you've ever known anyone who's in like a roller coaster relationship, they never leave. And especially not on like the advice of a friend who's like, it's really annoying for me to listen to this all the time, so I would like you to end that relationship and shut up about it, all right? It's really, really bad advice, really unhelpful, and like really bad friendship, all right? If you can't take listening to it, I would recommend just avoiding that person. And I mean, part of the problem is being isolated when you're in a toxic relationship, but if you can't be there and just like help that person feel better through something that's an addiction, it's completely like biochemically an addiction that's going to take them a long time to recognize and realize and get over, just politely distance. My brother and I call it the polite drift, and that's when you have like a beef with someone that's not really worth taking up with them because it's just like a values clash, and you're like, nah, good luck with that. Like, I'm just going to politely drift. Don't return a few phone calls. They can hang out with someone else, So Narc-Labelling is because nobody ever listens to it, okay? Nobody ever goes, yes, I need to leave my toxic relationship. Why? Because it's founded in attachment trauma, all right? Codependency kind of sits at the anxious end of the spectrum, but there's a whole bunch of avoidance patterns as well. And I think a lot of people in the gang are like a bit of both, right? And some of my favorite toxic relationships have been, I was ambivalent and so was the other person. Like, we both kind of did both, as opposed to like one person embodied the yin and one person embodied the yang. We both had a bit of both, so we could kind of switch a little bit, and it becomes this push-pull dynamic of one person chases and the other person goes, oh, all right, I'm going to let you catch me now. And then that turns into a push, and it's like, oh, actually, I didn't want you to catch me. This is too intense. Create distance, run away a bit, and then they can chase you some more. So giving that space. And advice for people who are very anxiously attached and not avoidant and not ambivalent, give the avoidant person space to step forward, okay? When you chase them, they get overwhelmed and they avoid. But if you kind of run up to them and then just take a step back, they're like, oh, they'll step forward, and then you can like step in and hug them. It's like timing, all right? But so why do people not leave even with the terrible advice, right? It's because on a level, it's deeply satisfying. If you have been raised to believe that you are unworthy and that you don't deserve love, being with someone who validates that for you and is like just out of reach and makes you feel not good enough is deeply satisfying. You feel like, yes, this is in harmony. If you're raised in an environment where you had to do a lot to get love, then you feel like that's how you become valuable, that you're not intrinsically valuable. It's by doing things. It's by tasks, right? It's like, look, I did this for you. Look, I did this for you. Look, I did this for you. Now I'm worthy. And so if you've got a partner who's really like not giving you a lot, and you do stuff and you have to chase them and you have to fawn over them to get little crumbs of attention, it's deeply satisfying because it's what you know. Okay? And that's why your shitty friend advice of like, oh, that person's fucked, you should break up with them. That's why no one listens, all right? Because even though it's suffering, it's familiar and it's satisfying. Suffering is satisfying. I'm sorry. Why does secure attachment feel boring? Because suffering is satisfying, right? So you could be with someone who's really supportive, really lovely, really sweet, and it's like, it just doesn't have the edge to it. It doesn't have the spice. It doesn't have the del fuego, the drama, right? And it's because you're not used to that. So you could find someone who's perfect and who loves you because they can see your intrinsic value even if you don't know you're worthy. And so they love you and they want to be with you and they want to look after you and they want to create a life together. And you're like, this is just all a bit healthy, right? It's because we haven't learned the skills of recognizing security in others because we haven't found them in ourselves. So when someone secure comes along and does want to love you, it's like, I just can't feel where they are. I can't feel how this is healthy. I can't feel what's good about it. But we can learn that. And as I've made small jokes about, I've been watching like a whole bunch of sitcoms with families because there's this thing with people being attentive to each other. Like someone's like having a bit of a drama and everyone's like, ooh, let's get in on this scheme, on this B plot. You know, everyone gets in on it and it's like everyone's helping the person who's got the problem. The sitcoms are like based on dilemmas and like an arc of success and failure, right? Anyway, so you can learn to be secure, right? But until such time as you sort of develop that inner peace and self-worth, and then you can see it in other people and you go, yeah, me too. Peace, self-worth, yes. You and I, we make a good team. Let's do this. We're always going to be looking for the satisfaction that comes with the suffering that is familiar to us. I am sorry. It is awful until you go see a therapist about it or go to these groups or read all these books. It's going to keep happening. And people who are your friends are going to give you the worst advice. Oh, just break up with them. Stop being a dickhead. It's like, thanks, man. Great friendship. Thank you. I really appreciate you acting like you know better than me about my situation because it's annoying to listen to. It's not possible to pull yourself away from a toxic relationship when you're in it because it is so engaging and so compelling and deeply satisfying in the sickest possible way. I'm sorry. Don't give advice to someone who's in it. Give them sympathy. And if you can't handle it, give them space because it sucks. And when it's your turn and no one's there for you because it's fucking awful to hear about, remember that next time one of your friends is in a toxic relationship. Sympathy. Don't empathize. It's too painful. That's part of the dilemma anyway with the attraction and the trauma. That'll do. You get my point. PM me. Bye.